1840 is my love, my mission, my purpose, but it is extraordinarily fatiguing. It is my dream that is a nightmare. It is my nightmare that has become a dream. Like, honestly, both. Like,
good stress, bad stress, but stress nonetheless. You have it's stressful to do anything that's fulfilling.
It's me taking a full swing at the pitch and living or die with the results. Right. There's this great interview with Jerry Seinfeld and Lorne Michaels, which is incredibly profound on Comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, where they're talking. They say a few things in that interview that are just stay with me about the different types of what people go to find content, and they compare it to going to the zoo. You go to the zoo, you want to see the lion. He says that's like the classic movie stars, the Leonardo DiCaprios, the George Clooney's. You want to see the gorillas. The gorillas are the action stars, the Stallones, the Schwarzeneggers. Yeah. And then you want to see the monkeys throwing their feces at one another. Those are the comedians. And you go all these three things. But one thing that he says is he actually takes a shot, Lorne Michaels, at alt comedy. He says the reason why I don't like alt comedy, I don't care, he says, what's going on below 34th Street. Because alt comedy has a crutch where you're able to say, you don't really get what we're trying to do. You're able to kind of say, like, you don't get the artistic vision of our comedy. It's so avant-garde. It's so different.
Can you give examples of alt comedians he'd be referring to?
No, the old comedians I know actually made it and brought it to the mainstream.
Or what is he criticizing?
No, he's not criticizing.
Or what's he saying about alt comedy?
I think he's criticizing, like, these kind of, like, teeny tiny improv shows that don't really make any sense.
Like Tim Heidecker, he'll come out sort of as an unfunny character trying to do stand-up. Okay. And it's like, it's so interesting to see someone who's got to stand-up do stand-up.
But he's working. What he's criticizing are the people who rely on the artistic value of what they're doing. I don't care if the audience gets me. I don't care if they respond, because I'm so otherworldly and in my own head comedically. And
sacrificing the audience relationship.
And Lorne Michaels says, when you're at the plate, you have to take a full swing at the pitch and live or die with the results. You can't say, well, you don't get, I wasn't trying to hit the ball. I was actually trying to get no laughs, and that's what I was trying to do.
So essentially it's like you're running the comedic experiment but denying the results because you're above it.
Exactly.
And I think the two of them, especially I've heard Seinfeld talk about, that his comedy is the lab and then the experiment and then back to the lab. But it's very much the audience. Well, I'm serving the audience.
Yeah, you have to have some metric. Is what I am doing resonating? Does it have a purpose? Yeah. And whether it's a comedy or whether it's a podcast or whether it's an article or a book or whatever you're doing, you have to have a metric. You can't just, I think, use the artistic expression. Then that's a hobby. If you want to go in and step on the plate, I think you have to take a very full swing, and that's scary to do because you're not always going to hit home runs. You're going to hit singles. You're going to strike out. You're going to hit, but you have to at least respect the endeavor enough that I'm really trying to do something here.
So what's your endeavor? Sorry.
That's
what's your
back to
mission
1840,
at 1840?
right?
Yeah. What is that swing that you're taking? When you turn the mic on, what do you feel like you're trying to accomplish?
1840.
Do you get, on the subject of judgment, do you get this sort of like sense, especially when you were first building it up? Because, in the Jewish world, modern Orthodox Jewish world, Orthodox world more generally, it's like when you do anything out of the box, before it becomes on the build up to it, there's always met with this weird suspicion, eyebrow raise. Huh? What are you doing? I don't know.
Fully.
How's your cute little podcast doing? What's he doing there? First of all, where do you think that comes from? Is it projection because you're doing something that they may want to do or think about doing? Do you get this kind of do you get that thing where people are confused and therefore in order to protect their dignity or their sense of stability, they have to knock it? Were there friendship circles that were like, Dovid's trying to do a little podcast thing. What is he, Joe Rogan?
I think there are two avenues. There's one avenue which is people like the watching somebody on a tightrope walk. Yeah, they love watching somebody because of the ability to. They might fall, they might fail. And when you first step out onto that venture, I remember when I first started writing a humor column in Mishpacha, like the first reaction, it was my father actually, was like, he got nervous, like, this is full time now? Like he was nervous. He was like, that's a very thin wire that you're walking on. I think people do like, there is a little bit of, that's not what my father, there is a little bit of schadenfreude in the community where it's like, oh, he's trying to do that. And that. There's a second model of the community that I think is with all types of art or content. People don't like people who take the work that they're doing very seriously. They don't like it. They don't like it. I think it's. I think it's. I think there's an element of envy that you are involved in a work that you do take seriously, and I do not apologize, and nor do I hide the fact that I take the work that I do extraordinarily seriously. I don't think I'm that important, but I take the work that I do a real responsibility, and I take it very seriously. It's a real craft, whether it's a joke, whether it's something serious, whether it's Narishkeit. Whenever anybody says to me like. People used to respond, that's so cute. That's so cute. And I'd be like, Bubala, Zieskite, sweetheart. If you locked yourself in a room for 6 months, you would not be able to do one humor column. For 6 months, you wouldn't be able to do it. It's not cute. It's working. It's good. We built a community around it. I hate when people diminish you in that way, and I do think they're diminishing you.
And where does it come from?
The way they react,
and
I think it comes from an envy and the joy that you are creating something, and that people don't always allow themselves or don't have the capacity to have outlets like that. And they're like, they look at it like, oh man, like so they want to make it. They want to make it smaller. I do the same thing. Don't get me wrong. You meet somebody who's super charming, super personable, really good looking, super wealthy. You're like. Just tell me one of the things that she's awful at. Like, it makes you feel better. Why am I? You stack against them. I had this conversation last night. It was a one-liner, and it meant the world to me. I'm a competitive person, and I was talking. It was actually somebody who I was learning with, and I came in and said, I'm always so exhausted when he comes. It's Wednesday night. I'm always so, and I said, I don't know if I work more than others or I have less capacity than others. And he looked at me. He says, your real problem are the words "than others," meaning the real answer to your problems is not maybe you do have too much work, maybe you have less capacity. The question needs to delete the term "than others," and then you'll find the real answer.
You're only competing against yourself. That's kind of how I look at it. And when other people succeed, I always take the approach of, wow, they're just proving something is possible.
Do you really react that way? Do you get competitive?
No, I am not competitive. Only against myself. I hold myself to it.
I admire that a great deal. I am competitive.
I am not. I don't play sports.
I love my competitors, and I'm the type of person I get along with everybody. But I'd be lying if I see these major breakthroughs and I'm like, oh man.
No, it's something I've learned from you actually, because
he's not lying.
And yet I'm competitive, and I'll be like, oh my god, look what they did.
Yeah.
And he really doesn't. No, yeah, you really don't go there with it. And it's
that's a nice thing to have. I wish I had that, and I work on it constantly.
No, because when somebody succeeds in the same thing that I'm in the same hustle, I go, sweet, it is working. It is possible.
I mean,
they just proved that whatever I'm doing,
I do get that sometimes,
is what they're doing. And it's a matter of time and patience and grit.
Yeah.
Like they just demonstrated. They are affirming to me that it is possible.
I love that.
Everybody's success in a particular endeavor doesn't show me what I'm doing wrong. It can illuminate what I'm doing right or what I can take away.
But we're on the track that now exists in the world.
They have made the case. Like when I was growing up, you have to realize in the 90s and early 2000s, trying to get into show business, how many examples were there of either people from our community or anybody? The Jewish community had this caricature of entertainment. Oh, it's a tough business. I don't know. And to the extent it really was, there was a lot of gatekeepers, there was a lot of unknowns, but it was a caricatured perception of what a tough business is. I hear it's really tough out there. And then once you dive into it, you look, the successful people I see celebrate other people's success. The people who are failures, it's only failures who are resentful and bitter and saying, oh, whatever, he sucks, or hating. You get buried under that, but it's more like, oh, well, look at that. It's like, do I want that for myself? Sure. But that person just demonstrated to me that I can achieve it.
I do a lot of Ska in residence gigs, and I visit shuls and communities. It's part of the work that I do in 1840. Yeah. And I remember I have some friends who, like, I asked, we talk among ourselves, what are you charging for Shabbos now? And sometimes someone will tell you, like, this, like, extravagant number. Nice. And when I hear that, I'm like, thank God. God bless you.
There you
God
go.
bless America.
They're making it easier for you to charge more, too, because you're setting standards.
You bring something to the world. You value your work. You take yourself seriously. You don't have to be embarrassed by that.
And the next person who starts a podcast and talks about these issues will be on the heels of what you've built, And
I'll come after their families, but yeah, sure.
But I'm just saying, you've opened a door for a whole other thing. So it's like a rising tide, generally speaking.